Konnichiwa, minasan. No, I'm not doing
Hello.
Maybe I am doing it. But yeah, welcome. We are going to be checking out a little bit of GhostWire Tokyo, which comes out next week on Friday, the 25th of March. Both of us have been playing it.
That is correct.
And I don't know. What do you think about it, basically? I will be playing some footage over here.
Okay. Yeah, so just a heads up, we're only allowed to show about 20 minutes of this game so far. This is not very far into the game.
Nope.
I will say this, Jess.
Yeah.
I had very high hopes for this game in terms of what it was sort of presented. It was like an E3 a couple years ago where this game sort of debuted.
Oh God, yeah. When did Nakamura-san do the cute thing? Whenever that was.
It was like the whole package. The vibe of this thing, the way it looked, the way they were teasing it, very cool. And playing this game, there is a vibe of it that I believe is pretty cool. Somewhere underneath here, there's a good video game, I think. But
yeah.
But what I've played so far, I gotta say, I'm fairly disappointed.
It brings me no joy to also say that I'm also disappointed. As the big horror buff of Giant Bomb, I was looking forward to this a lot. I've been looking forward to it for how many years it's been since the cute E3 Nakamura thing that made her pretty famous. I'm just not feeling it. The combat is really, it looks cool. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel cool.
This game has a look, it has a style supremely unique. I love everything about this game except playing it. Like that's the great tragedy. In my opinion, this game just does not control very well.
No, I felt like it feels like I kept asking myself this question: why is this in first person?
I agree. I totally agree. I think if this were a third-person camera behind the back sort of thing, I think it would have been a lot better of an experience. I really do.
I would kill for a dodge button. Like, I don't know about you, but I would love a dodge button.
So,
and I feel like there is this kind of precedence in. This is not a survival horror at all. There's like food everywhere. There's just ammo everywhere. I wouldn't call it like survival, really.
Easy, yeah.
Yeah. I did a perfect block. Good for me. But a lot of people say horror games are kind of like not supposed to control good because you're supposed to feel like scared in combat.
That's not what this is.
This isn't that. This is like an action RPG adventure game. I would even argue it doesn't even feel much like an RPG that much because I don't really feel the customization that I feel like usually comes with an RPG. We'll get into this a bit later when it comes up visually, but there is a upgrade tree that I have a lot of opinions on. I'm not going to get into now, but I don't see that being something you can customize because it's just all the same tree. You're going to choose all this stuff eventually once you have enough experience points to spend on it and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, so I guess just to back it up a little bit, GhostWire Tokyo is essentially a first person. It's sort of like, I guess it's a shooter in the way that you're aiming a reticle and sort of like trying to take out enemies with your finger powers. So in that regard, it kind of is. It's it is this open world thing where you're dispersing this fog that has taken over Tokyo. Everyone disappears in some sort of event, and you are then possessed by, I don't know, this spirit person.
This guy, KK, is very surly.
All that stuff is fine. It's fun. And, you're sort of just going around and you're fighting these umbrella people that are rogue,
these rogue-like spirits from another world. I don't think they themselves are... They're not working for the bad guy or anything, but they are here because the bad guy did some bad guy stuff.
They seem like a byproduct.
Yeah. The plot's a little vague so far.
Which is fine.
Which is fine.
For a Tango game, it's totally fine.
It's the beginning of the game, too. I'm not going to try to exactly guess what's happening or anything like that. But I'm not, super compelled by the plot besides the premise. The premise is cool, but like
Sure.
the plot, I don't know if I give much of a hoot about. The bad guy, Hanya, is very cool, but he doesn't have the charisma I want in a bad guy very much, besides just looking really dope.
Yeah.
And like you hear a little bit of his like kind of like manifesto throughout the streets and coming from TVs and stuff like that. And it's just very generic, like, I'm the bad guy, I'm setting everyone free, actually, and what I'm doing is good.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, okay, dog, I hope you, like, I hope this makes more sense later, because this is a dumb reason to do this stuff.
Which is fine, because a lot of these games from this developer, they're strange, and I love that about them. I like The Evil Within. I like both of them. I think all of their games are fun in a way that I don't sort of expend too much brain power in trying to unravel and work through the plot. I think, but what those games have that GhostWire unfortunately does not is a relatively satisfying sort of control situation. And I think, I mean, we were just watching you shoot your way through that sort of scene, and it's tough to aim. There is this sort of like rubber bandy, frustrating delay wonkiness that I almost feel like could have been tuned and edited and sort of finessed in a way that would correct all that. But I must have spent a half hour going back and forth trying to make this game control the way I wanted it to control. And it's just not doing it.
You feel slow and clunky in a way that is not typical of a first-person game, but would fit a little like more naturally in a third-person game where it's just like, oh, well, if there's a delay on this, I just like Pizza-Roo. Look at this. Good taste, good days. Pizza-Roo.
Thank goodness for the dogs, though.
I know, the dogs are great. You can pet the dog at GhostWire Tokyo. Day one purchase, right?
Yeah, and look, like, the dogs, also, like, they're these little sort of like mini games, right, where you feed the dog and then the dog can lead you to some money or treasure or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of like other mini sort of like to-dos scattered across the map.
Yeah, none of them are particularly challenging or interesting, and even in the only 6 hours or so, 8 hours or so I played of this game, it was already really repetitive, because every time you feed a dog, he walks about like at max 10 feet away, digs in a spot a dog cannot dig in, and gives you like $10. Yeah. Or less. Like that's the process. Give away dog food, get $10 back. It just feels like, okay, this is the exchange rate, I guess, of dog food to dog is $10 or so. And
sometimes they'll lead you to like a statue or some sort of collectible thing.
Okay. I've only gotten money from these dogs, and I fed them like
and then there's this component of the game, which you are collecting the spirits of all these people that have been evaporated, I guess?
Raptured away. Their spirits are kind of stuck here. But like, what this is? This is the titular GhostWire, I guess. You're putting these ghosts in the katashiro, which is like a real like warding of evil like little piece of paper thing. And well, real, you know what I mean? Culturally real. We're gonna go talk to Hanya in this like hallucination. What am I saying? It's really early, but. Plot-wise, you're sending them through the telephone, and apparently they are the people who those souls are getting like zapped out of this area in Tokyo, and they're gonna like recover, like become not ghosts somehow.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't really like suss out exactly what's happening to them. It felt like what was happening to them was good. Like
we're helping.
This was the best result they could hope for, given their current predicament.
Good thing we built these. We built all these things into every single phone booth just in case.
Which I kind of love. I kind of love that.
Yeah, I kind of love it.
What's so weird though is like, see. There's 240,000
It's like
spirits.
The population of Shibuya, which is, I think, I should fucking Google that. Is that the population of Shibuya?
It's crazy, like, to think that, like, oh, you could do that. You could find every, cloud of, like, spirit people and, send them through the phone, which is fine. It's another thing to do.
Real quick, here's the skill tree. quote unquote tree. It's a skill line. There's no
Yeah.
choices really, so I wouldn't call this like an RPG because there's no branching off. There's no like, oh, you have to choose this or this to customize your experience. And I really have to come down on the game hard here. I am not the hugest fan of skill trees, but it can be done better than this. It can have choices in it, and this skill tree is just to nerf you at the beginning of the game. It has stuff in there that's like, do this faster, do this faster, do this faster. Just speed up the animations of doing things is not a skill. That is a choice to make the game annoying to play, so someone has to spend experience points to make the game less annoying to play. I'm not getting more powerful. I'm becoming like what the game should feel like a little bit more.
Yeah,
Bad
the majority
choice.
of those upgrades are just sort of, like you just put it, kind of throwaway. There's a couple here and there that have meaningful, power expansion, but I agree. They are mostly just speeding up animations of stuff.
Yeah.
This kind of stuff is okay where you have to go into like apartments and rummage around through stuff, and
Yeah.
you can kind of extract a bit of a narrative about the main character and his possessed helper friend. But I gotta say, the whole package is just really leaving something on the table. Overall, I've played this for probably 5 hours now. There is something about it that I kind of just enjoy when it comes to doing the loop. There's this interesting, grappling thing where you can teleport up to the top of a building and do a lot of rooftop jumping, and they do fun, effects like this as you walk through, corridors and stuff. And, like I said,
They don't do this often enough to keep me interested, though. Like, I want a scotch more weirdness. I want it to be more weird than, I want this stuff to happen more.
This is too tame for this developer, right? Like, this game does feel a bit too tame.
Yeah. Like,
it's a
it does
shame.
have strong moments that are very evocative of the Evil Within 2 specifically, more than the first one. Like, look how fucking amazing and gorgeous this is. Like, this is ridiculous. I'm in a hallway, but I'm also not.
There's moments of this, and you're right. Like, when these things happen, you're like, oh wow, is this the turnaround point? Is this where the game starts to like?
When does it get fun?
Yeah.
Which breaks my heart. Like, I want to like this so bad. Here's something wasn't triggering for me. I know I have to shoot this thing. There you go, KK. There it is. But yeah, like it's just there is a core. There's some spirit in this game that I feel was run through the AAA filter and stretched so thin that it's just not, it's hardly there anymore. There's this little core of it that's like, oh, this is such a cool premise. This is a cool gameplay loop. You do interesting things in it. I want to know more about the characters and the situation, but it's stretched unnecessarily to be what I presume is going to be like a 30, 40, maybe more hour game. And I feel like horror games get worse the longer they are. And this isn't really a horror game, but like even like horror themed games get worse the longer they stretch on, because you get too used to everything. It's not a surprise anymore when things happen. Even if there are little slightly different, activities, mini games, ghost things to investigate, they all kind of have the same general flavor because you're not going to have, 300 totally unique set pieces like this. They're all probably going to get recycled to some extent. I'm almost positive that all these effects, all this kind of stuff we're seeing right now is probably going to get repeated a couple dozen times in other places. So it's not going to be special.
Look, there are things I do like we said, like this sort of stuff, when these moments where things get a little crazy, I think are fun. Enemy design for me is pretty, I guess, just maybe the aesthetic, maybe not so much the sort of like challenge that they present, but just the way they look and their overall sort of style, I think is kind of fun. And you come across increasingly weirder and mini boss-ish in their difficulty. I think that stuff's cool. I think you are given these sort of like elemental powers. You have like a wind ability, a fire ability, a water one that seems incredibly underpowered in a way that I'm just like, I'm never using this.
I know. It's so weird. Like, you have the one you start off with is like the most versatile and has pretty good range and all that stuff, but is a little like weak. And then you get the fire one and it's like, oh, okay, cool. I can actually do real damage and like move the hell on from these kind of annoying constant fights that you can run away from sometimes. But you only get like 5 ammo for it, and it's hard to come by that particular ammo, and it's just like, okay, great, so here's the powerful one that I have to use sparingly. I get it. And then you get the water one, which is, I think, supposed to be kind of more like a shotgun style thing that has like a wide range, but it's like a short range, but a wide berth of it.
Yeah.
And it's like, when am I going to use this? The enemies are never this clumped together so that I can hit them all.
Apparently there's the first perk in the water line of upgrades. I won't say tree, but the water line. From what I've read from what we've received in the sort of guides that have accompanied this, supposedly sort of change how effective that is. Which is okay,
Just make it good when I get it.
Thing, but the thing is, like, you start with the water power, and then you're like, well, I'm never using this. This doesn't feel good at all.
Yeah.
Why would you want to
upgrade it?
Right?
Yeah.
Because you're just like, I'm cool with the, with the wind and the fire ability.
Yeah, like any other game, you get something new, and you go, ooh,
this would be even cool. Yeah.
How am I going to use this? This is cool. And in this game, it's like, what's this? Like, what else do I have to learn now? There's like a lot of different little bells and whistles going on in this game that I wish were like presented in a way that's a little more like, I don't know how to make this fun is what's weird, besides making it third person and giving me a dodge roll.
Yeah,
like that's what I keep coming back to.
And that's the thing, right? Like, I guess if what's the takeaway of GhostWire Tokyo? And it's sort of just like almost there,
Yeah,
like there's moments where I've enjoyed this. Again, I think the look and the effects and the sort of unique
the art direction is through the roof crazy nice.
It's great.
Like, it's already great. Like a contender for best art direction of the year for me, up there with Elden Ring. Complaint, you can't pet all the cats because they're in weird places. So here's me struggling to pet a cat. and I think this sort of speaks to the overall kind of clunkiness of the whole experience. There was a side mission where I had to go into a spa, and you can drop these little lines that give you like a navigational straight line to where your objective is, and it was pointing me to this door, and I couldn't go through the door. Like, it was just not letting me go. And the game is, the design of this game where you drop these little, you saw it before where the main character like puts his hand down towards the ground and a line shows up. You expect that you can just go exactly right to where it's pointing, but you can't. There's no... It is like as the crow flies a lot of the time, or all of the time, actually. I think it's as the crow flies. So you'll see it cut through entire buildings, and it's like, totally. I know that. I have a mini map. I know it's over there. That's not helpful at all. Like, meanwhile, I'm expecting it to work more like in Dead Space, where you do the same motion and it shows you like through each corridor, like, take a left here, like if I'm lost, I'm not gonna do this and be like, oh, as the crow flies, it's like diagonally this way. Like, I know that.
Yeah, just, and even we didn't even talk about like the food and the health sort of system.
Oh my God,
there's all that I feel like gets sort of watered down in a way that isn't very interesting.
I feel like the economy is messed up in this game. Like, the earning of money and experience points is it feels so arbitrary because I can't spend this money on stuff I care about. Like, if you look at something like Yakuza or something, which of course people are going to draw comparisons just because of the setting being pretty much, not the same exact place, but a couple train stops away from the same place. And very similar in like style of city setting. Yakuza, you get tons and tons of cash, but you can spend it on all sorts of different things, from like tons of like cosmetic stuff, stuff you buy for quests for other people and stuff like that. this, I feel like the only thing for now, at least being sold in stores, is more katashiro, the little paper things to capture more spirits, because you have to...
Which is useful, but
which
that's
is
like
super useful because they start you with like 10 or something, and those fill up so fast, so you have to spend money to hold more of them, so you're not constantly making trips to the phone booth to get rid of the fucking things so you can cash in your experience. But it's like, can't I just get experience from doing this? Why is there another step here? That's really annoying to do. And it kind of is the only thing making the economy and the fact that you need money functional at all in this game, because the only other thing to buy right now is maybe arrows, which you find enough of unless you're constantly using it, which you wouldn't, because they're not the most powerful thing except against certain guys.
And again, aiming that bow and arrow is just not fun.
It's not fun. And just, you can buy a whole lot of food. And why would you? Because it's laying around everywhere. Why would you buy food?
Everyone evaporated. They all left their lunch.
They all left their lunch everywhere. It was noon and everyone left their lunch. There's one back there in the background. Like, they're everywhere. I am chocked full of food, right? Why would I ever buy more food? And some of the food has little tiny upgrade not upgrade perks, little tiny combat perks and stuff like that. Like, oh, like this is slightly more powerful, or it takes less time to do, or something like that, speeds up this or that. And it's like such a small incremental amount that it's like, I'm not going to specifically eat this.
Well, what's worse is if you quick heal, you can only sort of like choose which category of food. You can't choose the specific food.
You have to go into your inventory, select one type of food that you can only have 3 of at a time, I believe. And that's the one you're constantly nomming down on if you quick heal, which, like, you're probably not going to go into your inventory to heal. It's right there, you know?
No, yeah, all you have to do is hold down, triangle or Y, and that'll quick heal you. That's the thing. That's like the perfect example of just how this all seems sort of out of sync, the whole thing. Which is a shame, because there's a lot of cool and interesting stuff in this game. I think some of the side missions are interesting.
The economy is also funny in that you're spending money to buy dog food to feed to dogs who give you $10 usually. Like, so it's kind of like I'm paying money to get slightly different amounts of money, because I haven't seen them lead me to any Jesus statues, but maybe they do. You said they do, so.
Like I said, there's the side stuff's okay. There's the dog stuff. There's a couple statues that you can sort of collect, and in each sort of quadrant that the fog opens up in, there's a set amount of objectives to fulfill in those things. And some of the side stuff is interesting. I mean, it's not super compelling, but some of them tell interesting stories where, like I said, you have to rummage through like an apartment or whatever it is. But yeah, I
want to talk briefly about, like, so again, the Yakuza comparison is coming up. I'm sorry, it's apples and oranges. I really shouldn't be comparing this to Yakuza. They're incredibly different games. But when you talk about like side stories and stuff like that, Yakuza is known for that, and it's known for having a mix of serious and humorous side stories. Sometimes a little bit of both. Sometimes you laugh and you cry at the same time. The feel of these side stories are very dull. Like, there's not a lot of chutzpah in it. There's not a lot of fun. I haven't seen anything like mildly humorous happen in this game. I don't know if you have, maybe. I
think like the floating cats that are like the merchants of stores and stuff like that is kind of funny. But yeah, that's not exactly what the game's going for.
Yeah, and it's just like, I want like a little, like, not everybody has to write games the same or anything like that. Like, I'm not saying that or anything, but it's a little dull when all you've got is just like these kind of flat characters. You've got your boy Akito, who you're playing as, who's just a guy, and he's worried for, by the way, there's a plot. His sister's missing. She got kidnapped or something by Hanya, and apparently not spirited away like everybody else was. Not sure. But he's very single-minded in that quest. He misses his sister. That's why he's doing this shit. He's possessed by KK, who I believe might be a cop. The ghost of a cop.
He's a ghost cop.
He's a ghost cop. But not the fun kind. there's no fun kind of ghost cop. But he's just got the same personality as Akita, but just tired and bossy. He's very bossy, by the way. This game's constantly like, go here, do that, through KK. I'm just like, okay, geez, I'm going. Bossy pants, come on. So it's like, this is, he's not a compelling character. None of these guys are like, I want to know more about this person. That might be just me. But it's just like, when your personality is just like protagonist and bossy guy who bosses around protagonist, I kind of want a little something. Haven't really run into any other like human characters besides the bad guy. And there was like one cutscene of like somebody that used to work with KK giving me something or other. I've already forgotten what they gave me, a lead or something. And they just were also very matter-of-factly and just a person to talk to. So, I don't know. You can hear one of the Tengu in this clip, by the way. There's a Tengu nearby. You can use them to get to the top of buildings quickly.
Yeah, that stuff's neat. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of, I'm trying to think if there's anything really else that we'll obviously talk more about this on the podcast, but I feel like we were only allowed to show a little section of the second chapter of the game here. So, I'm going to keep playing a little bit more and kind of see what happens. I'm already on the following chapter, so we'll sort of see how that shakes out. But I don't know, Jess. I don't know. What else is on your mind?
I don't know. I think what else is on my mind is I think I didn't
save enough spirits.
Yeah. I just wish this was more. It's really oof. It's just oof. Yeah. And I'm also thinking I might not have recorded our faces during all of this. I'm excellent.
I mean, as long as you got the audio of us and the game, I mean, that's fine.
I had a cool little thing set up too. Oh well, this is what I get for doing things at 8 in. I get half of it done. Anyway, GhostWire Tokyo. It's coming out next week. I don't know. If you're into like, kind of Skinner box style games where you do a thing and you get a little thing and then you do another thing and you get a little thing, that's cool. You can like this. You're not bad for liking it. Maybe it'll be your jam. It looks gorgeous. Maybe you're into that. But it's coming out for PS5 and Windows. It's $60. Jeff, I'm sorry I didn't record our damn faces.
That's quite all right.
Like, did my makeup and everything. It's so early.